Yo, what's up? Welcome to episode 48 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and joining me as always is Woody V. What's happening, brother?
Not much, Robbie. How you doing, man?
Good, mate. Good to be back. A few little internet problems tonight, so hopefully it won't show up during the show. But if it is, you can let me know, because I'd let you know if I had if you had any issues there, Wood. So,
yeah, for sure.
Good stuff. Good to be back, mate. Look, before we get into it, just a reminder where to find us. Please look out for our videos on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing and you like those videos. And of course, if you're listening to the audio, the podcast available wherever you find podcasts. All right, Woods, let's get straight into it, mate. I see you wearing a very nice-looking jersey there, and I think you might have even teased that on Twitter during the week. So
I did.
Show the audience what you got there. So Woody's standing up wearing the brand new Cairns Taipans snakeskin style jersey. Scott, loving that jersey. It almost looks like it should feel like snakeskin, right? I'm assuming it just feels like a normal jersey, but it looks really authentic, that one. Very unique, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, they're the most awesome jerseys I've seen, released by an NBL team in a while. And I think a lot of people have commented on that, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bit about the guy I'm wearing. The jersey is Shannon Scott, right? And he's played all over the world. He's the son of Charlie Scott, who's a Hall of Famer. Played in the NBA. And if you haven't listened to the Huddle with Liam Santa Maria, who recently had Shannon on there, and he goes into his life growing up in that household and what it was like to meet the likes of Dr. J, to Kemi Mutombo, all these guys growing up there. He didn't even know that. He just thought they were just regular people. You heard that podcast, did you?
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? Yeah, no, good story on that one. Were you actually aware of him, Woods, before he came in? Because I've got to admit, I was.
I wasn't aware of who he was, but after he got signed with Cairns, I looked him up and I knew straight away he was Charlie Scott's son, right? And obviously, Basketball: A Love Story, one of my favorite documentaries of all time on basketball. Charlie Scott is featured quite heavily in that documentary, right? But yeah, just a little bit about him. As I said, he's played all over the world. He's actually teammates at the Long Island Nets with Taj McCall, his current teammate, Mitch Creek, and Alan Williams as well. So he's got a lot of connections to the NBL. And how impressive has he been as a floor leader and a general, and having that veteran in that young locker room. Cairns have really needed him, and he's taken the team, put the team on his back, especially with Taj being out lately, and he's been a big addition for them. No one would have expected him to deliver the way he has, right?
He seems to have got better every week, hasn't he? He's just added a little bit to his game and obviously getting more familiar with his teammates. Seems like a good guy and a good sort of locker room presence as well, which, like you said, being that veteran on the team is pretty important. So, and did you see my sort of little comment on Twitter? I know you got a Justin Simon jersey and that one, so I asked you, which one are you going to be wearing on Saturday for the game? Obviously going to be the Kings jersey, right? You're not going to go to a Kings game wearing that.
No way. I'll be wearing the Simon jersey, right? Yeah.
I like that. All right, well, I'll get into mine. So just doing my double jersey theme, a couple of pretty random ones today. So I sort of quizzed you before we started and you picked it. But, hanging today, so I'm doing the Lou Williams double. Hanging up there is his Hawks home white Adidas jersey. So pretty sweet-looking jersey. That's one of the authentic ones I think I got from the Hawks store a while ago. And we know we like these Adidas jerseys, Woods. They're always a good fit and everything else like that. I'll just stand up and show you the one I'm wearing. But this is probably even more random and sort of going back a few years, this one. So let me show you what I'm wearing.
So for those who can't see, Robbie's wearing Philadelphia 76ers, Lou Williams. Number 23, so he's got the number 23 at Philly, right?
Well, I think 23 is retired for the Hawks, isn't it? I think Lou Hudson, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But, he's always been one of my favourites there in Sweet Lou Woods. So just a little bit about Sweet Lou, as we said. So he's played 17 seasons, and I'll talk a little bit about that after this. So 17 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted by Philly at pick 45 in the 2005 draft straight out of high school. So what an absolute great career, pick 45 to be playing 17 seasons. So he played with the 76ers for 7 seasons, so that's when this one sort of came about. Before becoming a bit of a journeyman, playing with Atlanta, Toronto, the Lakers, Rockets, Clippers, before rejoining the Hawks. So Sweet Lou is currently a free agent. No word as yet if he will be retiring.
Right.
Interestingly enough, Woods is actually his birthday tomorrow as well, so he turns 36 tomorrow. So interesting, isn't it? There certainly hasn't been an announcement yet. I mean, I certainly reckon he could help like a veteran team there. I mean, obviously he's not going to be playing a big role now, but I'm sure someone could possibly pick him up later in the season if he stays in shape and stays away from the various places that he likes to go to, of course. But yeah, there's a chance we might see him. So, look, his accolades are he's a 3-time Sixth Man of the Year winner, one with the Raptors and 2 with the Clippers. He shares this record with another one of my favourites who have also featured on the show in Jamal Crawford. And interestingly, Crawford also won 2 of those Six-Man titles with the Clippers. So interesting that 4 of those have been won with the Clippers with those 2 guys. Yeah, look, a guy I just really sort of loved watching. He just come on and just be able to get hot straight away. Of course, he's sort of pretty popular in pop culture as well. I know Drake did a song about him, about having his 2 girlfriends and all the rest of it like that, which got a bit of media attention over the years. And look, I think he's actually born in Memphis, but I think he was sort of raised in Georgia there, so he's a bit of an Atlanta local there. You reckon I've got a bobbleheaded Sweet Lou there, Woods?
You must.
I do. It's not a Hawks one, so I'm taking it back a little bit as well. I've got this little mini one here from Philly, so it looks pretty like him, I reckon. So it's the same. It's obviously the home of the jersey I'm wearing now. So this is another stadium giveaway, pretty rare sort of one there. So he looks pretty happy to be on the show.
Definitely. And Robbie, your audio is coming out great, but for all the viewers who are watching the show, it's a bit blurred. So what we might do is put these jerseys up and the bobblehead up on Twitter during the week so people can have a good look at them, Robbie.
Of course. Yeah. When you put them up in the week, maybe I'll call TBG and throw a rocket up in Woods. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, you've been pretty good lately, man. Hey, just one last thing on Lou. Any chance of a return to LA for him, to the Lakers specifically? Because, I mean, they could really do with someone of his skill set right now.
Great call, yeah. Absolutely, they could. Yeah, that's a really good call. I mean, like I said, I think it all depends on what his sort of motivation is. He's, 17 seasons in the NBA. He's achieved a lot there, but, he hasn't won a championship yet. So it makes you wonder whether he'll sort of be maybe trying to hold out and go on a late season run there. So potentially the Lakers might not be the team if he's looking for an actual hardware the way they've started. But yeah, no, good stuff. So I guess 2 very different sort of guys in Scott and Williams there. But yeah, happy to start the show off as we do always with these jerseys, Woods.
Definitely.
All right, so let's get straight into it. We thought we might sort of go straight into the NBL this week, Woods. So we might just talk a little bit about round 4 before we sort of just do our normal preview, which of course is round 5 this week. So on to round 4. Just wanted to sort of see, was there anything that stood out for you in these recent games?
Yeah, look, maybe I'd like to talk about the contrasting fortunes of the 2 Melbourne teams. Obviously, Melbourne United were on a great high a few weeks ago after going into your neck of the woods, RAC Arena, and beating the Wildcats, right? Since then, it's not been very good, right? And I think obviously you saw the press conference. If you haven't seen it, there's a press conference with Dean Vickerman where he was very critical of Jordan Caroline and compared him to Jack White. And it's just come out recently that he's apologized to Caroline at training, etc., for calling him out in the media. So there's a little bit of unrest in that locker room. They have been losing and haven't really looked like winning. There's a lot of carrying on, people, making too small signs and symbols like Xavier Mays and Rajon Tucker when the team's losing. And I think, I responded to Mookie on Twitter recently and I said, Damon Lowry said it on the crossover. When the jack jumpers make a shot, they're just like, where's my man? They get on defense straight away, right? There's no carrying on. And I know what Damon was saying. He was referring to the Melbourne United guys carrying on when their team's getting smashed, right? And the other side of the coin,
body language team as well. And I was just going to say again with the body language, I was sort of watching Ratha Mays and making faces when Rajon was launching up these threes and stuff like that. So they're certainly not on the same page at the moment. I personally didn't mind what Vickerman said. He was asked a question. I think our mate Kane Pittman on ESPN asked him a legit question. I thought Vickerman was very honest with the way he answered, but possibly a little bit too honest as well. Maybe to get sort of that in depth of what he was sort of feeling there. But no, sorry, take it away, Woods. I
was just going to say that on the opposite side of the coin, SEM got after a really slow start. They were hit with injury issues, but obviously now they've got their full squad of players back. Joe Cheese joined the team. You've got Gary Brown, Ryan Brokoff, Trey Kell. These guys have all come back and they won both their games in the previous round, right? So I think you're seeing Southeast Melbourne on an upward trend and Melbourne obviously struggling at the moment. So just point out that.
No, good call. I see plenty of depth in that Southeast team as well now because you've seen guys like Adnam and Tarangi and stuff sort of getting quite a bit of minutes. Obviously, they're going to drop off a little bit now, but I think they've got a pretty deep bench there. I think the imports, are looking like they could be pretty decent. I think Joe Chee's been a little bit slow sort of coming back, but again, again, sort of just adjusting to his role now, playing alongside Williams there. But I guess a couple of things that stood out for me was the road teams continue to keep winning, which is just surprising, isn't it now? So you wouldn't want to be sort of, betting any of your hard-earned money on any of these betting sites these days. It'd be pretty hard doing that. And just, I probably wanted to mention, not just because they destroyed my Wildcats, but the Jack Jumpers were so impressive in that game. I just love the way Scott Roth's got them playing again. Such an unselfish team. They always make the extra pass. There doesn't seem to be sort of any egos on that team. Everyone's really playing as one there. And I think a lot of credit's got to go to Coach Roth for that. But yeah, they've certainly been impressive. Obviously, they started off a little bit slow, and people, probably including myself, were getting a little bit carried away, thinking they might be dropping down the ladder. But no, they've certainly been impressive. And probably the other one, I think it's a little bit sad to see. Obviously, we're quite close with Coach Jacob Jaconis for Illawarra, but they look pretty ordinary, don't they?
Oh, my God.
The game on Monday night with, about a half-full stadium there, and they were down, 30-plus in that last quarter there. They got a few garbage points near the end. Look, it's going to get better. Peyton Sievers, going to be playing for, I think, tomorrow night in that rematch against Brisbane, but there's definitely a few alarm bells there for them, I reckon. Just quietly, just because I won't be able to give a fair answer on this one, Woods, what are your thoughts on the Wildcats? Because they've looked a little bit shaky these last couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, and we've said it before. It's that import combination of Tayshaun Thomas, Brady Manick. I'm just not convinced by them. And they're saying Bryce Cotton might naturalize soon, and they can bring another import in, but that still doesn't cover the deficiencies that.
Leave that when I see it.
Yeah, and I think Mitch Norton maybe it might be time to move him into a sixth man role. And get an import point guard to put beside Bryce Cotton, right? They've had the Damian Martins, the Mitch Nortons of the world for years, but I think it's time now that they go down that route and he can play off the ball a little bit more. And imagine putting a Derek Walton Jr. beside Bryce Cotton, man, right?
It's a good point, isn't it? And that's the thing. Cotton's obviously. Yeah, definitely. Well, Cotton, I think, has had one bad game. He's been really good the other ones. Luke Travis has been really consistent throughout the year, so no problems with those two. Yeah, but it's just getting that third or fourth guy. And at the moment, the two imports kind of just seem like role players, don't they? I mean, I can see it with Brady Manick. I can sort of see that he's got the potential there, but I'm not quite sure with Thomas. I know he's been carrying this ankle injury, but he seems a little bit undersized. And I just think with some of the quality of the bigs in the NBL at the moment, just not quite sure about that one there. So it'd be interesting to sort of see what they end up doing there. But no, I just wanted to sort of get your take on how my boys are going. How are you feeling about your Kings there, Woods? Obviously, they've lost a couple in a row at home, haven't they now? But they continue to win their games on the road. What are you feeling about them?
Definitely, but it's time that we take care of business at home. I mean, Kudos Bank Arena has been really packed last few games. Big crowds, 8, 9, 10,000 people coming in. They've obviously dropped one to Adelaide, which they really should have won last week, right? That was a tough loss. They had plenty of opportunities to put that game away. And then against Cairns the week before. So they got a bit of redemption against Cairns this Saturday night, which I think we'll get into. But I think it's time that they started winning some games at home as well. But I'm pretty happy with the way they're playing at the moment, yeah.
Strange again with this scheduling, right? Because this will be their second home game against Cairns. They've already had 2 away games against United, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange. So they're sort of playing some of these teams twice and getting those games over and done with teams they haven't even played yet. But just lastly, before we get onto the preview of this week's round, Woods, what are your thoughts on these delay of the game rules that seem to be sort of popping up there? I'm not sure I'm a massive fan of it. I don't know if it's detracting too much for the game. The whistle blows, someone takes up a little bit of a shot there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, as long as they're consistent about it, I mean, what are they trying to get out of it? So they're giving a warning first, right, before they actually give them a tech foul, give them a free throw, right? That's how it works at the moment, correct?
Yeah, it just seems a big penalty. Someone in the first quarter takes a shot 2 seconds after a foul's called. That's the warning, and then later on in the game, that could potentially be, a tech foul in possession there. So I don't know. I don't know where that's come from, that rule. I don't think that's anything the NBA's adopted there. I actually quite like it when you see someone jacking up a shot after a foul, and then someone, Cooks does it a lot. He jumps up and tries to knock the ball out. The old Dwight Howard sort of, play there to try and just stop someone getting that momentum there. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue that or whether that's like a rule they relax a little bit there. So, all right, good stuff, Woods. Well, yeah, certainly looking forward to this week's games. Look, at the time of recording, it's Wednesday the 26th. So the round 5 starts off tomorrow, as we said, with a rematch from the Monday night game. I think there's 8 games again for this round, Woods. So,
you're going to ask me one more thing, I think, on this run sheet, it tells me here that you're going to ask me what I regret about my takes from the start of the season, right? Are we going to get into that?
Okay. Yeah. No. Feel free. Yeah. Feel free.
Because
Yeah,
I did read that, and I know you mentioned the Tasmania Jack jumpers earlier. So I just thought I'd quickly mention them. Like, we're idiots, right? Everyone's idiots. We look at their roster, we're like, yeah. I'm like, they're gonna come last this year. They're gonna be last. And after 2-3 games, my prediction looked right. But how stupid are we to write them off? Scott Roth, as you said, he's just a great
didn't think
coach.
they were gonna come last, but yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to say, I was wrong. they're very good.
So would you now say they're a lock to make the 4 or even the 6?
The 6.
6 are a lock. Yeah. Good call. I think so. But like we said, the way they're playing as a team there, it's certainly a lot of teams aren't doing that. So, no, good call. Look, probably Brisbane's still the one for me if we're talking some regrets. But look, I kind of like what they did in that game last week, albeit it was against Illawarra, but Bain certainly got going. Tyler Johnson's impressive. He just needs to get the ball a little bit more. But, yeah, I won't totally rule Brisbane out yet, but they might not be finishing as high as maybe what I was thinking there. But,
hey, I really like the way Tyler Johnson's taken in his stride to come off the bench. And really just seems like a professional, team player. So it's been really good, his attitude towards that.
Agreed. Yeah, good call. All right, let's get into these round 5 games then. We'll just sort of give our thoughts on the game so far. So maybe I'll take us away with the first game tomorrow. So we've got Brisbane at home in that rematch against Illawarra. What are your thoughts on that game there?
Illawarra, as you said, they look, even though Peyton Seaver is going to be coming to help them, they look like they're really going to struggle to get wins on the board this year. So I'm going to say Brisbane at home after winning just a few days previously against the same opposition should take care of business.
Yeah, hard to argue with that one. The next game after that, we're still, the team that we don't feel like we've seen a whole lot now. So we've got Adelaide against New Zealand. I actually don't mind this game. I think this could be pretty decent. Look, I'll say Adelaide will win this game at home. But yeah, again, I'm sort of looking forward to watch this one. I think that's the entree for the big 9:30 game. Sydney time anyway on Friday night. So why don't you talk us through that one, Woods, the Wildcats against South East Melbourne. What are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Perth back at home, they've really been struggling last couple of weeks and, they really need to get a win on the board, whereas South East Melbourne's really trending up. It's going to be a really close game. It's hard for me to call that one. I think Perth are going to hit back with a victory, marginally. Perth by less than 5.
I hope so. I'd really like to see them get back. Yep, no, fair call. Then we've got Illawarra back in action again. So they've certainly had a pretty heavy schedule lately, haven't they? That'll be about their 3rd game in sort of a week or so, less than a week. So we've got Illawarra at home against Melbourne United. Look, it's hard to sort of pick Illawarra for that game. I know Melbourne haven't been that great at home, but definitely like some of the talent they've got on that team there, as much as they, maybe aren't working totally well as a team. But look, I'll say Melbourne could win that one maybe fairly comfortably as well against Illawarra.
Yep.
All right, and then we've got the game, which I'm sure you'll be attending and sitting in your fancy season ticket there. I've got to say, I've got to get out to a game with you, Woods. It's already round 5. I haven't seen a live game yet, so we'll have to tee that up soon. But yeah, how do you see that Kings and Taipans going on Saturday night?
Yeah, Taipans had a really brutal loss against New Zealand that they really should have won. They kept New Zealand to 5 points in the first quarter, and managed to lose that game. That was a tough game to watch. I think the score was mid-60s. So I just think Sydney's, after losing the last couple of games at home, a Saturday night, that crowd is going to be pretty big. I think the weather's going to be really good in Sydney on Saturday, so expect a nice crowd to come in and for the Kings to give the home fans a victory.
Did you just say the weather's going to be good in Sydney?
Yeah, it is on Saturday.
Wow. Yeah. I just thought I'd check that because I haven't heard many people haven't heard much at all this year. Well, it's been nice today. We'll give it credit. There's been one good day in a row, but it'll probably rain tomorrow. All right, so then we've got the next game after that is New Zealand against Tassie. So, yeah, that could be a pretty competitive game. It's Tasmania's only game for the round. I think there's maybe 4 teams that are only on singles there. So, it's a tough one to pick. Obviously, New Zealand coming off that Friday night game. I'm going to say Tasmania continue their winning run and they get a win on the road there against New Zealand. All right, so we're down to 2 games left. Look, I'm going to take away the last one, so I'm going to leave the one last one for you. So I'll talk about South East against Adelaide on Sunday. So quite like that game as well. Look, obviously South East travelling back from Perth there. I noticed none of these teams do the Doomsday Double anymore like they used to, don't they? There's no playing in Perth and playing in Adelaide the day after, which is a bit of a shame. It was always good for the Wildcats getting teams on those back-to-backs there. But Look, I'm going to say South East will get that one at home. That could be a pretty competitive game. And look, I'll leave the last one to you. So I believe it's so it's Halloween night, I believe. I think anyway. So the 31st. Does that sound about right? So, and I think that's also on Monday night before that public holiday they get in Melbourne for a bunch of horses racing around for 3 minutes in the afternoon. So that could potentially be a good crowd. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that game there?
Yeah, I think Perth will get that. Melbourne still wouldn't have brought in another big man. I think Caroline will still be playing. Perth will be buoyed if my prediction is right, with a marginal home victory against Southeast Melbourne earlier in the round, and they'll use that momentum into that game and take it out. So I'm predicting your Wildcats to go 2-0 on the double this weekend, or this round.
Fingers crossed. Good to hear that. Well, certainly looking forward. There's some interesting games on paper in this round, isn't there? So hopefully get a pretty competitive round there. Looking forward to see how that all works out. So, all right. So now we might get into a bit of NBA. What do you reckon, Wood? So
let's do it.
I think each team's played around that sort of 3 or 4 mark. I think Milwaukee's only played 2, but we're sort of that first week into it. Been loving having the games back. Sat down and watched the Hawks Orlando game with my daughter, and we watched every minute of that on Saturday last week, and enjoyed sort of watching that. But what has your thoughts been on the first week so far? Anything that's stood out for you at all?
Yeah, look, I'm loving the NBA being back on. There's a lot on my plate right now. The NBL, the NBA, the Cricket World Cup. In addition to my father being in hospital, so it's been difficult to watch as many games as I would have liked, Robbie. But I've been watching Game Time every night, and I'll be sure to take advantage of my league pass over the coming weeks. What's really stood out for me is Portland. 4-0 at the moment. Who would have thought that they would have got off to such a great start? Anthony Simmons is averaging 20 points per game, and he's playing the nice role of Robin to Batman for Dame Lillard, and he's been able to fill CJ McCollum's shoes quite ably so far. Obviously, it's a small sample size, but they've really surprised me and been really impressed by the way they've gone about their business. And yeah, they could be sneaky good this year.
It's interesting. My brother and I were actually chatting about this today. We heard Bill Simmons after, I think, their first game, Portland, saying, is Dame done or whatever now? Well, no, I don't think so. The way he's played these last 3 games now, he looks like the same old Dame to me, putting up huge numbers there. The other one I quite like for them is Josh Hart.
Definitely.
The guy's not much taller than me, Woods. He gets about 10 or 12 rebounds every time he goes on the court. He's a rebounding freak for his size there. So, he's sort of someone I reckon is pretty important on that team. And, they seem to be a team that's on the same page at the moment. I might just go the other direction at the moment and sort of, probably easy pickings at the moment with Philadelphia. Obviously, they won their first game there, but they've looked pretty ordinary so far. Embiid doesn't seem to be playing that well. His rebounds are well down. I think I might have called it with Tyrese Maxey Woods. He's looking pretty ordinary and just doesn't seem to be a good fit alongside Harden there. So that's probably one that stood out. Obviously, the Lakers, we don't want to sort of spend, all show talking about them like every other sort of man and his dog does, but they've certainly not been impressive. I think Lakers and Sacramento are those other teams that haven't won. And look, anything else that's stood out for you before we sort of get into a little bit more?
Yeah, so Philly, they have lost to Boston, Milwaukee, and the Spurs, and I think they beat the Pacers, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Didn't you pick them to win the championship this year?
I did, yeah. But I also picked Miami to make the play-in, and they've been pretty stinky so far, so we'll see how we go with that. I copped a bit of heat for that as well on messaging and Twitter and stuff like that, but I'm gonna hold true to my prediction there, so I don't really like the look of that team. But look, I think it just shows you in both conferences there how even things are. Wanted to see what your thoughts were on the Clippers as well, Woods, with Kawhi Leonard basically having a whole season off, playing a game, then resting in the second game. They're taking the piss, aren't they? What's going on with that?
Oh man, and today he was stayed back in LA for tests, and he's still got the injury bug. I drafted him with my second pick in fantasy, man. I'm really regretting that now. Nice. But
do you think it's him, a team like that? Do you think it's the team? I never quite work out. Do you think it's him not wanting to play, or the team's just putting him in quite more? Because it just seems strange,
I think since that falling out at the Spurs, right? At the end of his tenure at the Spurs with Popovich and Parker and those guys, he's had that sort of attitude towards injuries. So I think it has a lot to do with him and the team also trying to appease him and keep him happy, because we saw in Toronto he played 60 odd games, but then come playoff time he was ready to go and he brought them a championship. So I think a team like the Clippers can afford to do that with the depth that they have.
They
still look pretty good. I mean, they lost today, like badly to OKC.
They lost to OKC today, yeah. So that's that makes me wonder: can they afford to do that? Yeah, that's why you're repping the hat. I don't know. Can they afford to do that with the way the West is so competitive? They need him to play more than one in every 3 games. I mean, surely they could get 60 games out of him and sort of work out a way to manage the sort of schedule load there. But I think some of their supporting cast needs to step up a little bit more. Reggie Jackson's been horrendous so far. Big Zubac has been really good, but I think there's a few guys that we probably need to see a little bit more of there. Yeah. Look, a little takeaway from me, Woods, has been the play of Ja Morant so far. This has been amazing so far this season. I like to say, you drafted Kawhi with his second pick. I got him in the 3rd round of our Yahoo draft. 3rd round. So I reckon if there was a redraft this week, like 1 week into the season, he'd be a top 7 or 8 pick, I reckon. So, I mean, he's certainly challenging for top point guard in the NBA with, obviously respect to Luka and Steph there. But look, he's led the Grizz to a 3-1 record. He's currently averaging this, and how's this, Woods? 35, 4 and 7 on shooting splits of 55, 60 and 86. And that's the big one for me, is the improvement on his 3-point shot there. He's been averaging 3 made 3-pointers a game. And look, of course, we know he's just an absolute must-watch player on League Pass. So, yeah, he's been a big standout for me, Ja Morant. I've sort of been flicking games. Oh, cool, Memphis is on. I'm just going to watch it to see some of the amazing stuff he does there. So what are your thoughts been on Ja?
Well, let's not understate the impact of Desmond Bane, Like, they're becoming a really good 1-2 punch. And Desmond Bane spoke about in the offseason how he's worked so much on his playmaking, and he can sort of allow Ja to play off the ball a little bit. And you notice Ja's getting a lot of these catch-and-shoot threes as a result, and he's able to shoot not off the dribble, but launch those 3-pointers, catching the ball, and obviously the percentages are going to go up when you've got those advantages. So you saw the other day, both of them had 38 apiece. Those guys are becoming a dynamic duo. You got the veteran Dylan Brooks there coming back from injury. They've got some nice pieces on that team, so they're going to turn a few heads this season. Very impressed by Ja and obviously Desmond Bane as well. Yeah.
What about that game against Brooklyn there, Woods? As you said, Bane and Ja both got 38, and KD and Kyrie both got 37, I believe it was. I think that's the first time that we've had 4 people in a game. I think ever. I think the only other time was an overtime game. This obviously didn't go to overtime. I thought that was pretty amazing. I'm going to put you on the spot, Woods. I like doing it. Nothing too hard for you to think of, but just wanted to see what your thoughts on some of the Aussies have been this year, because I saw a bit of that this season so far. I saw a bit of the Phoenix game today. Jock Landale, man, he was really important. I'm loving his energy out there. So, yeah, give me what your thoughts on a couple of the Aussies so far.
Yeah, but as you said, Jock Landale really carved out a nice role here as the backup center. He's defeated the veteran Bismack Biyombo into that backup center's spot at Phoenix because he can stretch the floor, and he's been blocking shots, and he's got the buy-in of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and the coaching staff. And he nearly had a double-double the other night. Today, he in limited minutes, he's making an impact on the floor. Very impressed by him. Dyson Daniels today got a nice run because they had a few injuries.
Double figures, right?
Yep. Yeah. So really nice to see. And Patty Mills is carving out a nice little role for himself at Brooklyn. This Brooklyn team is going to be better than people think. You got to give Ben Simmons, another Australian, obviously, a little bit of time to sort of get some reps into him. I think when Seth Curry comes back, let's see if Patty Mills still gets the same sort of burn that he's getting right now. That could play an impact. Haven't seen Matthew Dellavedova come on the court yet, but with Sacramento losing, and who knows about Davion Mitchell and what he can contribute, you might just see Mike Brown insert him into that rotation very shortly.
Try and shake it up. The one that's been a little bit of a concern for me is Matisse Thybulle there, Wood. So he almost seemed like one of those players that was in that sort of untradeable category last year. I know a lot of teams are trying to sort of get him any potential trade packages. What are your thoughts on Thybulle there? Do you think it might be maybe a change of scenery that he needs, or do you think you can see him maybe getting a role to increase soon?
Yeah, I think PJ Tucker joining that team. Melton's joined that team now as well, right? He's obviously been put on the back burner a little bit by the coaching staff. So I think a change of scenery would be good for him. And a guy like that, he's going to get he's going to be valuable on the open market. So, and if Philly keep losing and they need to shake a few things up, they could use him as an asset to try and bolster in other areas, let's say.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, Wood. Certainly enjoying the games. And look, we're going to get into a next segment, which I'm very excited to get back at the moment. By the way, there's my finger, Woods, in case anyone was wanting an update. Got the stitches out yesterday, so that giant cast that I had on last week's no longer. But yeah,
nice,
still
man.
Sleep with it, but still a fair way away from playing. But the fused fingers starting to come good. But the segment I'm talking about, which is a return of, is none other than Hawks Talk. We're back, right? We know it's
back.
It's a segment that people like that we do and everything like that. So, look, at the time of recording, our Hawks are 2-1. They've had 3 games at home before they're just about to start on a 5-game road trip. Interestingly, they've all been against East teams. So the 3 games were against some lesser East teams there. They're now on a 5-game road trip against some also, teams that probably aren't going to be factoring too much into, playing contention there. But as I mentioned, 2-1 in those first 3 games. What have your thoughts been on the Hawks start?
Yeah, tough loss. I think it was the Hornets the other night, correct?
Yeah, it wasn't impressive, that one.
Yeah, but apart from that, I mean, I talked about Desmond Bain and Ja Morant being a dynamic duo. Well, Trae Young and DeJounte Murray look like they're going to be perfect for each other as the season progresses. What people forget is, along with being a really, effective offensive player, DeJounte is one of the best defensive playmakers, let's say, in the league, right? So you can put a defensive-minded guy who can also play the point guard position alongside Trae, which will really help Trae both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Actually, last season, DeJounte Murray led the association in steals per game, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's right. And now he's sitting, I think, second or third in that stat. Yeah, now he's sitting second or third in that stat, only a small sample size. But, he loves chaos. He the way he gets in passing lanes and he gets at it defensively allows him to get steals and allows the Hawks to run and gun a little bit on the back of those defensive plays. So I think, very nice to see him in that new environment, and he fits very well.
Any concerns there? Woods, a couple that stood out to me was possibly Trae's field goal percentage in these first 3 games has been pretty ordinary. I think he's in the low sort of 30s. Also the player Clint Capella, he's been a little bit down in those first few games. So any concerns there, or you think it's just a small sample size and not getting too carried away about that yet?
Yeah, with Trae, let's just give it a few games. It's, as you said, it's only been a few games into the season. I think he'll pick that up. Just like I said, with Ja Morant, he's going to be able to get some catch and shoot opportunities and things like that. And once they get accustomed to playing alongside each other a little bit more, Murray and Young, you'll see that improve. We've said it for a while. Onyeka Okongwu was going to take that next step. And it was going to be more of a timeshare always between Clint Capella and Okongwu this year. I wouldn't be surprised as the season progresses if they actually trade spots and Okongwu becomes the starter and Capella becomes the backup. So I'm not too concerned there. We've had some productive games from Okongwu so far as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, good call. Look, a couple of quick takes from me. Firstly, I'm loving the name that they're calling the Big Three. Have you caught on to that one, Woods? So they're calling it DeJounte Trae. So yeah, I'm quite liking that. A bit of play on words, factoring the Big Three there. And look, speaking about the one with the sort of middle name there, John Collins, look, he had a pretty ordinary game against Charlotte, but the team did. But really like the way he's played in these games so far. His outside shooting's improved. Very active on defense. It's very hard to, as a forward, he can come from the weak side and really sort of protect the rim and everything like that. So he's been a big one for me. Look, I actually reckon the Holiday brothers have been pretty handy off the bench. Still not sure I totally know which one's which. I know one's a guard, one's a forward, one's got absolutely like orange or red coloured hair at the moment, but they come on and they make a difference there. Obviously, they're absolute pests on defence. We know Holidays are renowned for their defence with the brothers in the NBA, so they've been an interesting addition there. And AJ Griffin had a couple of moments in that game against Charlotte. I know the team's really high on him there, so he's someone that's can sort of fill that 3-and-D role. So you might see him getting a little bit more time coming up. I think the big one for me, they are missing Bogey. Obviously. Bogdanovic there, so I'm not quite sure how long until he comes back there, but he's someone that really sort of spreads the floor a little bit, just a natural shooter and also a secondary sort of, ball handler and playmaker as well. So I think it'll be good to get Bogey back. But yeah, as I mentioned, we've got a 5-game road trip coming up. I think I've got a game tomorrow, Woods, and then they're on both days of the weekend. So we might get a chance to sort of watch them there and sort of see how they're looking. But no, I appreciate that. Well, yeah, good to get it back into some Hawks talk. And
Rob,
we'll go from one popular segment to another. Yeah, you got something else for us?
Yeah, just was going to mention Jalen Johnson as well. Didn't get much burn last year. I think he played about a handful of games, 20 games. Okay, he's played 14, 12, 10 minutes in the first 3 games this year, but it's nice to see that he's finding a way into the rotation, because we were high on him last year, and obviously because of the depth we had, he didn't get that opportunity. So it's nice to see him getting his opportunity, somewhat limited, but opportunity.
That's possibly that job to be won, isn't it, between Jalen Johnson and Griffin there. And obviously with Bogdanovic coming back soon, that might eat into a little bit of their times. But no, you're right. He's been getting some meaningful minutes in those first 3 games, which is good to see him. We also had high hopes on Sharif Cooper last year, Woods, and he's currently not even in the NBA, I believe. He didn't even make a roster. I think Cleveland might have had him in training camp, but that's an interesting one, isn't it? I think we saw a little bit in him that obviously just hasn't lived up to expectations there with Sharif Cooper. But I think we're both a little bit biased, right? If someone puts on a Hawks jersey, we automatically think they're going to be great sometimes. But good stuff. All right, well, look, we'll finish the Hawks talk and go into another segment that people like there, Woods. And I can hear you ruffling something there in the background. It's back to classic packs. What do you got for us this week?
Robbie, so I've got Series 2. 94-95 Upper Deck Collector's Choice, and if you look at this, we've got Michael Jordan on the front of the pack. All right,
very nice.
94-95. So I think it's the first one of the year. Yeah, I think it's the first one of its kind that I've actually ever showcased.
We haven't had one of these on the show. All right, nice.
No,
nice.
I don't think we have.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Former Oklahoma City Thunder and Washington Wizards head coach, really influential in the early lives of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
Scotty Brooks.
I'm talking about none other than Scott Brooks.
Scott Brooks, nice picture there. What was his points per game listed in that, Woods? I know he didn't get a lot of minutes when he played there, but I bet it's in the 3s or 4s or something maybe.
5.2 points per game in the 93-94 season for the Rockets.
5.2. I was close, but yeah, no, he was a good role player, I guess, his time.
All right, Grandmama.
Nice, straight out of UNLV, Larry Johnson.
Now we've got a few Larry Johnson's cards.
He's throwing that one down. Bit of Dino Raja in the background there as well. But yeah, we have had a few LJ cards, haven't we? Solid
start. This is a special edition silver card, which is signed by this man, right? I've mentioned it on the show before. This used to be one of my dad's favorite players when he first started watching basketball. He took me to a Lakers game. He's featured heavily in the recent Lakers documentary. He was one of the first European players to come here, in the early stages of the late 80s, early 90s.
Is he smoking a cigarette?
He's not smoking a cigarette.
In the card by any chance? But it is Vlade Divac, right?
Or as my old man would say, Vlad Divac.
Nice. It's a nice action shot. Now, is that hand signed, Woods, or is that a facsimile sort of signature there?
I think it's the latter.
So it's not personally signed. Yeah, no, nice. Nice card though. Nice, I like that.
Yep. Way before his time. When we talk about some of the great 3-point shooters to ever play the game, this guy's name must be mentioned. Most known for being a scoring machine at the Supersonics, then played with the Spurs and the Nuggets in 94-95. Had a long, distinguished NBA career. I'm talking about none other than
Dale Ellis.
Dale Ellis. Now, Robbie, tell me, is he in the Naismith? Tell me, Robbie, is he in the Naismith Hall of Fame?
No, I don't believe he is. No, he's one of those sort of borderline players there. I mean, he had a very good career average in that, but I don't think he had a lot of personal accolades there. So he's probably just on that level below the line there. But no, certainly had a very solid career. Is that a special card as well there, Woods? It's different than a normal one there, is it? Or?
No, that's just a normal card.
That's just a normal looking one. Okay, cool. No, I like that. It's funny, I don't really remember this set, so you're right. I don't think we have featured this on the show. So no, I'm enjoying this. Not too bad a pack so far. Yeah.
Not too bad at all. Okay, we're talking about Milwaukee Bucks guard forward, number 22, played for the Cavaliers, the Knicks, the Hornets. Okay, he has featured previously in a pack, I think in the 1991 Stay in School Hoops cards.
Paul Pressey.
Back then he was a Hornet. I'm talking about Johnny Newman.
Ah, nice. We had him the other day, I think, didn't we? Yep. No, he was pretty solid, Johnny Newman. Yep.
Okay, we talked about this guy, great point guard, and he and his teammate definitely had a disagreement over their relationship with Tony Braxton.
Jay Kidd.
Jason Kidd.
Nice. That was when they used to spell his name without a J, right? Because he didn't have a jump shot. He ended up turning himself into a pretty handy shooter. Yeah. He was acing Kidd for a while.
Okay. Now we've both got this guy in our top 10 Hawks of all time. Possibly one of the most durable big men to ever play the game. This is when he was on the Miami Heat. In fact, it was his first year leaving our Hawks when he went and joined the Miami Heat after having 10 seasons with the Hawks. I'm talking about none other than
he was a good dresser as well, Mr. Willis, Kevin Willis.
Kevin Willis.
Nice. Yeah, he was just kept on playing, didn't he? He just kept himself in such good shape over the years, Kevin Willis. But no, certainly someone you're right that we definitely like there.
Okay. Now, this is your favorite player of all time on Bill Simmons' favorite team. All right?
Oh, Dominique for Boston.
Dominique Wilkins.
Nice. I've got one of those green Boston Celtics jerseys there, which is pretty nice. But yeah, it's funny. People sort of forget about that now that, Dominique had time with Boston and Orlando and, of course, San Antonio there. It still seems strange when I see him in those jerseys. But
and the Clippers for a short while, didn't he?
I'll be getting that card off him. Yeah, sorry, in the Clippers. Well, that's what we got traded for in that trade for that awful Danny Manning player. But yeah, anyway, that's a story for another day, right?
I had to bring that up. All right, we're talking about legend. Went to Temple University. The Portland Trailblazers took him the 17th overall pick in the 94 NBA draft. I'm speaking of none other than...
Did you get a dog, Woods?
Yeah, my auntie's dog's just staying with me, with my parents for a while. Pebbles, shut up. Sorry, guys.
Obviously a big fan of classic packs, that dog, I can see, right? Anyway, a Temple player for Portland. Give me Terry Porter.
Nope. Aaron McKee.
Give me a number. Okay, Aaron McKee. Yep, nice. Remember him sort of with Philly playing pretty well as well.
Okay, so this is a 1994 draft class card. Obviously, this draft class was amazing. When you think of this draft class, you think of Jason Kidd, and you think of who else?
Does he drink Sprite?
He sure does.
Grant Hill.
Grant Hill. And this is a special edition insert 94 draft class card. Ooh. These are really nice cards. Really good quality.
They're very nice, aren't they? Yeah. This is a pretty solid pack. There's no real no-names or... there's none of Andrew Canyon's favourites either yet, is there?
None yet. Okay. I've said it many times. My favourite centre of this era from Jamaica. I'm talking about none other than... This man would sweat in the snow.
He would. Mr. Ewing. Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing. And this is a special edition Blueprint for Success.
Shooting against the Elijah one as well.
Blueprint for Success insert card. So, nice.
Nice. Look at those knee braces. Jeez.
Okay, here we go. All right, this is because there's a trivia question on this card which I need to ask you. All right, so okay, so first of all, the card is possibly one of the greatest in-game dunkers of all time, alongside Dominique. I'm talking about.
It's got to be the Rain Man, right? Sean Kemp.
Sean Kemp, for sure. Now the question I put to you is.
Nice.
NBA followers everywhere probably know Sean Kemp was drafted by the Seattle Supersonics without ever playing 1 minute of college basketball. Fans may not know that Kemp is one of only 2 players in NBA history, and let it be known, this was in 95. This has changed since, right? So this is in 95. 2 players in NBA history to gain NBA All-Star status without ever playing a college game. Who is the other one? This is in 95.
95. Oh, who's another one then? KG?
No, because he hadn't made an All-Star. He got drafted when? When did KG get drafted? 96 or 7?
Put me on the spot there.
Yeah, yep, Moses Malone.
Moses, of course. Yeah, KG was 95, I believe. Yeah, Moses Malone, good one there. Yeah, great career. That's it.
All right, that's it. Not a bad pack.
Pretty solid pack, right? We had Dominique, Moses Malone. Some decent standouts in that one. Nice. Sean Kemp. All right, good stuff then, Woods. Well, all right, we're sort of back to that outro stage of the show. So, just wanted to obviously thank everyone for tuning into the show. As I mentioned at the start of the show, please make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Just a reminder where we can be followed. On Twitter, we're at Throwbacks Hoops. Instagram, we're throwback.hoops. And our email address is throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Woods, do you want to give us your Patreon and TikTok details there, mate?
TikTok, Woody_V83, and then Patreon, just jump on there and search for Throwback Hoops. We appreciate any support.
Awesome, good stuff. Well, really appreciate it, Woods. Look, we won't give any names away, but we do have a couple of special guests coming on in the next few weeks. So we're going to have a special guest next week. And also, I think in a couple of weeks, we haven't actually told him yet, but we're going to get a returnee guest on that we might have had a nice lunch with before one of the Women's World Cup finals games there. So we're going to get him back on soon. I'll give you a clue. He's got a pretty good moustache. That's the cue. We'll leave it there. But as I said, very special guest next week that we're looking forward to bring on. Final word from yourself, Woods?
Man, before we have that very special guest on next week, you better get out to TPG and make sure that internet's up and running properly, man.
Mate, this delay hasn't been good. I've been trying to wait for the cues when you finish, but even with the cards, I was sort of talking, and I could see there was a good 2-second delay there. So, do apologise to everyone about that. Maybe it's the hot weather in Sydney for the first time this year that's thrown it out, but thanks for being patient with us. And, thanks for tuning in, and a big peace out from the Throwback Hoops crew.
Thanks, guys.